Hello, welcome back to the Evergreen Rx. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And for those of you that are new or those of you that are returning for season 4 of the pod, welcome or welcome back. I am so excited and nervous, actually more nervous maybe than excited right now, to be jumping back into the pod. I took a very short break in terms of the work. It's been about a month probably since I uploaded last, but you know, you got to prep for these things. So it has been a quick break, but I wanted to have a little bit of space between last season and this season because I'm making some changes this season. I'm very excited about the direction the pod will be moving. So let me just give you guys a little update first and tell you kind of where we're going so that you know what to expect. You might have already noticed that the title of this episode is different from titles in the past. And that's because ever since I started this podcast, I really wanted to incorporate the community of the Evergreen Rx. I wanted to incorporate listeners. I wanted to create dialogue and discussions between me and you and all of you out there that are striving for wellness and for more of a holistic, well-rounded, fulfilling life, and to just create this platform as a place for people that are like-minded to find each other and for all of us to also ask questions and source information from each other, and as a place for me to share my knowledge through my own journey in the wellness world and also through my knowledge as a licensed therapist to have a place to share that with you guys and to bring it out into the world. And when I first started, I was like, why the fuck would anybody listen to me? What does my viewpoint matter? What does my experience matter? But as I've gone through this podcast and gotten to have amazing guests and incredible conversations and heard from some of you guys listening, like how things impact you or what you learn, I've really been able to gain confidence in myself and see the value in what I'm creating here. And, I don't even have any clue how I started doing this, but here we are, and we're 3 seasons deep, and so I'm finally getting to kind of move in the direction that I've always, aspired to with this podcast, which is answering listener questions, answering your guys' questions, answering questions that are based off of, common experiences and dilemmas that people like us face, that people want guidance on. And so that's what I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to have guests on. I still want to incorporate friends and different people's perspectives and really keep it fresh in that way, but in a more casual, lighthearted, like me to you. Here's my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on this? Like, any way that I can help. Like, let's just kind of create that safe space. So, that's my intention, and I'm super excited to be at a point where I think I'm ready to dive into all of that, and we'll see how it goes. If you want to ask a question to have answered in a future episode, you can please send me an email at theevergreenrx@gmail.com, or now we have a hotline that you can call or text, and it's 512-655-9888. So that's 512-655-9888. And you can call or text that number. Let me know your question. You can remain anonymous, or if you particularly want me to say your name, then let's go for that. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. And I'm also planning to do some fun things over on Instagram, hopefully, of if you want to send me screenshots of texts that you're having a hard time figuring out how to respond to, then I can give my best stab at how I'd respond. Okay, so I hope you guys are feeling excited about this, excited to hear my first foray into this style of episode, the style of podcasting. I think something that I'm really happy about is the past 3 seasons, I have really built up a toolbox of a bunch of the components that I think lend themselves to creating a prescription for living well. And so we always have that toolbox to go back to if there's topics you want to learn more on. I'm sure I'll be adding to that toolbox as we go along too, doing some deep dive episodes every now and then on topics that I think are really important. But we do have a lot in the bank now for you to listen back on if I mention something and you want to learn more about it. Okay, anyway, enough of that. So here's my little disclaimer, because I think I need to add one. These are just my opinions, and I don't have all the facts. I don't have all the information about, if you're writing in, I don't have all the information about your life. Okay? It doesn't constitute or take the place of individual therapy. This is how we think about it. This is the Evergreen apothecary. This is where we try things out. We do our best. We figure things out together, and we always create our own prescription for living well, which means nuanced, fluid, personally aligned, and always totally customizable. That's the whole point. Is I'll tell you what I think, and you take what works for you and you leave what doesn't. Okay, so let's dive in. Oh, think I hear the door opening to the Evergreen apothecary. We must have a question. Dear Evergreen, for most of my life, I've been the responsible one. The friend who remembers birthdays, the sister who mediates family drama, the coworker who picks up the slack. But lately, I've started wondering, who am I outside of who I am to other people? A few months ago, I tried setting boundaries. I stopped saying yes to plans I didn't actually want to go to. I let texts sit unread for a while, and I started to focus more on things that bring me joy, like painting and long morning walks. But instead of feeling free, I feel guilty. My best friend made a passive-aggressive comment the other day saying she misses the old me, and my mom keeps asking if everything is okay, like I'm going through some kind of crisis. And honestly, am I? I don't know how to explain that nothing is wrong. I'm tired of being a version of myself that makes everyone else comfortable, but if I fully step into this new chapter, I'm afraid I'll lose the relationships that have defined me for so long. How do I keep growing without feeling like I'm leaving people behind? So what a good question. There's a couple parts that I want to hit on in this, but first I really want to start with the main theme that I feel like is being identified here, which is the role that we play, or the role that this person plays, but we all have a version of it. So this person articulates that the responsible one is kind of their role. We think about this as like the mom of the friend group, or like, the therapist friend or whatever. And so through that role, they have chronically given out to other people, done things for other people, maybe tend a little bit onto that people-pleasing side of things, wanting to show up, make sure nobody's hurt, nobody's disappointed, and that gets really exhausting. And so as this person is rightfully identifying, we can get to a breaking point with it. Like, okay, hold on. Who am I? Who am I if not the role that I am, the part that I play for other people? I have to be something more outside of that, which is true. This person's noticing. And so one, just kind of reflecting and normalizing this piece, and also validating, like, it's not easy to identify our role and then make steps to break out of it, because usually we're getting something from it. Maybe this is the thing that we've been praised for our whole life, being the responsible one. Oh my God, Kate's so on top of it. She always has her shit together. Oh, don't worry, just ask Kate to do it. She can handle it. We've gotten to be known for this role. We've gotten to, get praise, like, oh my God, how do you do it all? Like, how are you always handling this? Or, oh, you're the best. You're always there for me. I know I can call you at any time and you'll show up, and it feels good, and we feel loved and we feel important. And so there can be benefits to this role. It's the place that we fit in our relationships and what's familiar to us. And usually it's based off of some natural aptitudes too. Whoever kind of falls into that responsible role, they probably already have an aptitude towards, organization, or effective planning skills, or a natural, like, giving heart. So they have these strengths, and it feels good to exercise our strengths to a point. But then, as we're hearing in this question, I got to be more than just this. Like, this isn't everything that I am. And as this person's saying, it's not. They are saying yes to some things that they don't want to do. Maybe neglecting the things that feel really good to them, like painting, going on long walks, or even figuring out what those things are because they're so consumed with what other people are needing at any given time. So that's a big piece. And I think where we kind of dive in on this question is this person's already figured out the role that they play. They've already even made steps to start breaking away from it. Really, what I hear in this is, how do I deal with the pushback? Which is such a good question, and I think so relatable because I deal with this in counseling all the time. Like, people come to therapy and they're like, oh God, but what if I change? And what if I change? And so the people in my life respond to that change, or the situations in my life change because of that. And I'm like, oh girl, that's the rule. That's not the exception. Like, that's what happens. When we change, the whole system has to change. And we don't get to control how it does. That's the big thing here. And I think what this person is experiencing, like, okay, they started setting boundaries. And in the question, it says they tried to set boundaries. I would say they did. They actually put these things into practice. But then the guilt creeps in. Because the guilt keeps us in the role that we have always played. Why? Because of the praise we get, because of the feedback that, oh, I am valuable, I am important when I play this role for other people. When I'm the responsible one, people are happy with me. That's what they've come to expect. And so, oh shit, feels a little bit dangerous and scary to try something different, like setting boundaries and making more space for myself. It might feel good in the moment, but then this guilt starts to creep in because the guilt wants us to go back to what is familiar and what is safe. And, people in our life will also try to get us to go back to what is familiar and what feels safe to them. This is where the comments like, I just miss the old you. Or, your mom's comments saying like, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? And people starting to react in this way that kind of sends a message like they're not loving. They're not loving what we're doing. They're not loving the changes that we're making. Whether or not it's actually true that they don't like it is, up for debate. But what we do know is there can be growing pains. Some growing pains to like, okay, wait, hold on. You'd always answer my call, and now you're telling me, hey, I'm not available. I'm going to call you back tomorrow. Wait, but what do I do now? For this person, their best friend might be like, what am I supposed to do? You're always there. And now I have to deal with this anxiety or this upset or whatever I was calling you, but I have to kind of deal with it on my own for a while. And that can be tough for people to adjust to. And so instead of adjusting, they might make comments or try to get you to kind of snap back to the way that you used to be. And so this part of the question that just says like, honestly, am I having a crisis? I can hear where that's coming from, but I also hear a lot of confidence. This claiming like, I don't want to just be the version of myself that makes everyone else comfortable. There's like some strength in that. So I think that this person has an understanding like what I'm doing is right. It's just the pushback that feels wrong and feels like can bring in some of those questions of self-doubt. So then getting to the heart of this, we have the fear. We have the fear, what if I really step into this new chapter? What if I really step into my fullness of who I am and I lose the relationships that have defined me? So valid, so understandable. I've mentioned this before, but in my, in the informed consent that I give people as a therapist, one of the risks of therapy, we could call it a side effect or a warning label on a medicine, is losing relationships. It's, that reality is BFFs side by side with growth and change. I wish it wasn't so. It's so. And I can't guarantee that this person won't lose people. that's the hard part I'm like battling with. But this is the real cost of change, is that some people will be able to adjust and acclimate, and some people won't. If I was to hazard a guess, this person's mom would probably acclimate. They might not love it. They might still make some comments, but hopefully they'd acclimate. Their best friend? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Or it could be the other way around. Best friend's ready to change and acclimate and grow with them. Mom's not, and it creates some distance. Maybe we're not as close as we used to be. It hurts. It's painful. And what we have to do with that is not just snap back in. What you, listener, have to do with that is not just snap back in to that same role that you're tired of, that's draining you, that is taking you away from the things that really fill you up and kind of habitually keeping you in this playing this one narrow part. It's not to snap back into that. We have to deal with the discomfort, deal with the fear, and grieve the losses. If they do come, we have to grieve the loss. Like, damn, I'm stepping more fully into who I want to be. I'm stepping more fully into my own priorities, my own boundaries. And some people aren't, ready or willing to meet me there. And it sucks. It sucks. It hurts because you're like, damn, I'm happier. I'm doing better. And you're not happy for me? Like, fuck. But that's just part of this process. And so my encouragement would be to keep going, keep setting the boundaries. And if you want, communicate clearly. This can be a fantastic time to really say, hey, I'm actually working on this. I noticed I'm burnt out over kind of, overextending myself. And I'm trying to really listen to my body more on when I have the energy to go out with you, or the energy to respond to these series of texts right away. Whatever it is, you can say I'm working on this. And some people will really meet you with that and be like, oh, good for you. I didn't know. Okay, cool. Because they might be having their own fear. Oh my God, she's not reaching out as much. What's happening? So we can mitigate some of that with the communication and just letting people in on the journey so that they can support you. Some people will really love to be able to do that. But yeah, staying the course and knowing that guilt most likely is serving the function of avoiding grief, avoiding loss, avoiding that fear of losing, and less so about you doing something wrong. So to kind of put it all with a nice bow, I would say good on you for recognizing this role and knowing that you're bigger than it and you deserve to be more nuanced and show up more authentically in your relationships. Setting those boundaries, you're on the right track. If you want to add anything, add communication and let people kind of join you in this growth. And the third thing is open up to the loss, open up to any pain that you might be feeling over people that are not able to meet you in this new stage of your life. And knowing that you're not alone in that, you're not doing anything wrong. The guilt is just trying to keep you safe, but you're on the right track, so stay the track. Okay, well, that was my first little stab at it. I hope this was helpful. And let me know what you guys think of this new little direction that we're moving in. The heart of the Evergreen Rx is still very much here and the same, and it's still me and you. But yeah, I'm excited to be growing and expanding, and I appreciate you guys growing and expanding with me. Hey, send me your questions at theevergreenrx@gmail.com or call or text 512-655-9888. And I'd love to hear from you. I'm excited to keep it going. So until then, I'll see you over on Instagram or TikTok or wherever at the Evergreen Rx. We're back at it, baby. Bye.